that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Now we done by Disney, or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it, Legends. Whoa. Yeah, that works. Sorry. Book 8, Ascension, by Christie Golden. We're nearing the finale here, and more of the same. It started out very strong, and I was really enjoying it, and then it kind of just faltered a bit, and I'm really disappointed by that. Hold on. Sorry about that. Highlight of the book is, of course, Vistara. That is what you read this book for. And the plot does progress, so that's not an issue here. The plot is progressing, except there's character development progression, so I let it slide. But they still find ways to meander when we're so close to the finish line. It's actually an achievement that they have managed to skirt around this finale so efficiently as to not bring you to the logical conclusion of this series, which could have been done in like 5 books. Anyway, it starts out fantastic because we actually get a lot of Abeloth. We get a lot of the Lost Tribe. I'm actually invested, and we're actually getting to learn who this villain, who we've seen like twice now, actually is. And that was great. But then we throw that away. So we go back to the modern plot, which is that Luke, Vistara, Ben, eventually Jaina, are going to every Sith world to try to find the Lost Tribe of the Sith, because they don't know where they are. So we got some of the fan favorites. They go to Korriban, they go to Dromund Kaas from the Mysteries of the Sith DLC, or expansion, I guess, of Dark Forces, where Mara Jade brought Kyle Katarn back to the light side of the Force as he got corrupted by some ancient evil in the cave that they went to, which, of course, as everyone else says, that can never happen, because, the dark side is just like you making choices, like you chose to be bad. So, it's just like real life, guys. I don't know why you're trying to make it be like this supernatural thing or this, spiritual thing, because it's just you. It's just your decisions. That's all it's ever been. That's what Unifying Force told us, is just you. You're all stupid. That's what it's always been in Star Wars. It's been a choice, and only a choice. Therefore, when Kyle Katarn enters an ancient structure that's ancient and old, and supernatural stuff ensues. But that's don't worry. It was Kyle Katarn's choice to seemingly just go to the dark side like that, because I don't know. I'm just being snarky because people don't understand Star Wars. Okay, that's just me being really mean. I'm having fun there. But, yeah, so, that video game expansion, along with, of course, all of SWTOR that deals with Dromund Kaas. So, we have that. And they meander, because they don't know where Abeloth is, they don't know where the Lost Tribe is, so they're just going to go around these Sith planets so you can get those member berries, and those, oh, whoa, that's another thing, whoa. And then not actually do anything with it. Anyway, so that's that. There's some secret plot line that is not really well explained until the very end. It's meant to be this big plot twist. But Abeloth is in this book, even if you don't realize it. Some more stuff with Dala. Again, it's more of the same. More political stuff. But the highlight of it is everything going on with Vistara and the events surrounding this book that involve her and the things that she goes through and the complexity of it all is the reason to read this book. Because the Star is generally one of the greatest additions the Fate of the Jedi ever brought to this series, which I feel like, Troy Denning kind of drops. Unless, of course, his goal was to change it. But I don't like where they leave it off in the next book, and I don't like where it's left off in Crucible. But of course, Crucible was not meant to be the end, so I have no idea what her ultimate conclusion was meant to be. But I don't feel like she represents the Sith well enough to remain a Sith, and yet we have these conflicting things in the story that we'll get into in spoilers. That being said, that is the reason to read this book. It's absolutely phenomenal. That section of it, anyway. And other than that, I don't know what else to tell you. But, we're reaching the conclusion. By the end of it, though, I will say, the Lost Tribe have infiltrated Coruscant, and they are going to be a huge threat on Coruscant for the finale in the final book, Apocalypse by Troy Denning, which we'll get to. But that's pretty much it for non-spoilers. Ultimately, this began for a good long while being significantly, and I will still say this, significantly better than Conviction. Conviction is a snooze fest. This was much more better paced. It's still, again, if it wasn't the 8th book in a series that's been consistently meandering throughout its plot structure, then it wouldn't piss me off as much as it does here. But, I'm trying to review it as an individual book, but at the same time, this is meant to be an entire series. And it's continuing, even in the second to last book, to meander. Which I guess you could argue the Final Prophecy did in New Jedi Order, but at least that, it was still in Zomna Sakat, and it gave more character to some of the Vong, like Naminor, or Harar, or whatever the lady one is, I forget her name right now. But, that did a lot of good stuff for them in terms of the character, because I don't know if I care about them as much if not for that book. It was Final Prophecy went by Greg Keyes, and he's really good with character stuff, so I argue it's, and I guess it's the same thing here, because there's a lot of good stuff with the Star. So overall, I do think this book is a lot better. I'm just kind of drained because of this being connected to an entire series, but on its own, it's actually pretty solid. I still think the pacing is kind of off. I think it just goes on a little too long. But overall, it's still a very fun read. And definitely one of the highlights out of this, 1, 3, the ending of 5, and this. So, so far, I guess 3.5, because I don't even count all of book 3. So we'll say, 3 books so far out of the 9 have generally, relatively, kept my interest. I don't even know if I can say that. Maybe 2. I guess it's 2. With 2 of them being half enjoyment. So, I mean, that's something at least. I still have problems with this book, but I still thought it was overall a lot of fun. So, and made me invested with the emotional bits. But that's all she wrote. That's pretty much it. I'm getting into the spoiler. You don't want that? So, we get a lot of stuff with Gavra Kai, which is essential because they're going to kill him off in this book. But I actually really enjoyed what we got to learn, because after 8 books, I finally got to learn what Gavra Kai was really all about, and who he was as a person that I could generally feel and connect to. And it took 8 books to get here, but we're here, and it was nice to see. We also finally get to see kind of like what's up and about with Abeloth, right? Like her kind of defining trait, which is her loneliness, which is expanded upon heavily in the next book and expanded upon heavily in Supernatural Encounters. Now, I recently just saw an Instagram post, so this may date this video a bit, but there's this awesome dude named Sithari on Instagram. He just made a post about Fate of the Jedi and said that before this was chaos. No, she wasn't even that, because this series has not done anything to define what she really is, outside of that she's got a scary face that grows really big. They have not, in any way, shape, or form, characterized what she's about. Other than she's really interested in Luke, and she's lonely. That's been the one consistent thing. They have not made her the bringer of chaos. They claim that, but they don't show that. And, up until this moment, we didn't really know much about her. But right here we have that she's extremely lonely. And it's one consistent thing we have with her. Again, we get back to this whole slavery plot, and we got these officials talking about how who's going to represent them, or they become a part of the Alliance membership. Like, why is this in here in the second to last book about Abeloth and the Lost Tribe and this huge threat? Why? Why do we have this? I just don't get it. It could be interesting, but why are we shoving it in here? Especially when we know it doesn't get resolved here, and it won't get resolved anywhere else. So, but it's the thing. The Moth plot to overthrow Dala and Jag, I don't care. I just don't care about these Moths. I don't care about their ambitions or their goals. This isn't Dune. This isn't even peak prequel era politics. Like, I just don't care about the Moth's little scheme. I don't care. But they're trying again with stuff. Squibs come back. That's kind of cool, I guess. One thing I did, and this is just the last thing, but I do think it was kind of cool that the characters talk about how Ship is being forced to work with Abeloth because he's supposed to support Sith only, and that Abeloth is so powerful that even he can't resist her will, even though she doesn't count as a Sith. But one person he refused to work for was Jason, which I just think is quite interesting, because here he is, a Sith. He's accepted the Sith teachings and everything. Now, I think Legacy of the Force may have chopped it up to, well, he's not like an original Sith. Like, he's a Rule 2 Sith, so it doesn't count, or whatever. But it could also be true that Jason was never truly a Sith, because the reasons he joined the dark side and did what he did were just completely different from, like, everyone that's come before him in that line. And I think it's interesting to consider that he's much more, again, to bring up Dune, like Leto or Paul, and that he's not truly a villain, but he must be seen that way in order for the path where his daughter would be on the throne. But it's interesting that Ship didn't consider him worthy. Vistara versus her father. Abeloth has taken over the one Sith. They're kind of becoming mindless puppets, cultists, in a sense. And Gavrakai bites his daughter to death. And Vistara is forced to kill him, and this affects her heavily. So much so that we get to the best book, or best scene in the book, which is Ben and Vistara. The scene where she's writing this fake letter to her dad, because she's been doing that for a while. Ben walks in, thinks that she's betraying them, and they have a little argument, little heated discussion. And this may be one of the most realistic, raw, real, or I guess I said realistic already, but powerful scenes in this entire 9-book series was this Ben and Vistara moment. And this moment they finally open up about their feelings for each other, and Vistara makes the rash decision, which is the right decision, but perhaps not the right time, to become a Jedi. Luke does this whole Machiavellian prequel era Dune level 4D chess political play to leave Coruscant, because if all of his Jedi leave Coruscant, then perhaps the Lost Tribe will see this as easy pickings, which they do. So there's also a conflict between Dala and Jag, which I thought was actually pretty fun. Then we get to the other best scene of the entire book, which is Vistara's decision. She loves Ben. That is absolutely true. Not going to change. She loves Ben wholeheartedly. But nature versus nurture, right? You know, unlike the Sith before, she has grown up in this belief structure her entire life. This is all she's known. And this ancient beast of Sith attacks Ben and this other Jedi. I forget her name. She doesn't really matter. Not we something. But it feeds on fear, and it like makes you see visions of things that aren't actually there. And so it's either she works with the Jedi because Ben is currently in harm to defeat this thing, or pacify it by giving it somebody else to feed on. And this, you know, this is all being read from a book, so you get to see the entire thought process. But in the actual turn of events, this whole decision making is being made in the span of a couple seconds, you know. And so she does all this in her brain, and in like maybe a minute at most, she just kind of makes a quick decision. Attack Natui, let her become the victim so she can save Ben, because that's what matters most. Which is a very Sith move to make, very selfish. At the same time, can we blame her? But at the same time, I think she tried to rush into becoming a Jedi too quickly. You know, I don't think she was ready for that. I don't think she was ready to be on missions if she's trying to change. But at the same time, she thinks, oh, I can never change. So I will love Ben for as long as I do, and whenever he decides, inevitably, that it can't work, and that he has to stop me for whatever reason, my heart will break when I have to kill him. So again, I still think there's so much room for her character to evolve and change, and even by the end of Apocalypse, I think there's still room for redemption. We'll see if that's ever provided, if the EU ever gets continued. But as of right now, it doesn't look like it. But it was a phenomenal scene. And lastly, we learn that there's a character, I don't remember the name because I don't care, that has been working politically behind the scenes, is now the new chief of state. She's been voted in, but oh, guess what? She's Abeloth. And that's kind of like the ending. Oh no, Abeloth is the now the chief of state. Now, I wish I was terrified about this, but I barely even know Abeloth, and I don't care enough about her to be affected by this. So, oh no. We'll see how it's concluded in Apocalypse. But overall, this is a much better experience. I enjoyed it more. There's more emotional moments to cling on to, especially with the star. I think this is one of the highlights of Fate of the Jedi. That being said, I'm very glad that it's almost over. But yeah, so overall, hopefully it's a more positive review. Say it as I see it. But overall, again, I still think this whole series has been a net negative so far. At least now I do. Anyway, till next time, guys. May the Force be with you. Bye-bye.